All right, we're going to get to some more process control in a little bit, but I wanted to talk about SSH and accessing remote systems. At one point, I logged into a remote system with SSH, and the way that this normally works is you have SSH and you have an account, and you have some sort of a domain name or address that you're going to log into. And you'll notice it didn't prompt me for a password. We'll get to how that is done. But normally what it does is password authentication, and you have to provide a username and password. The username is already there in what you're connecting to, and you are on this remote system. Basically, most servers in the world, including modern Windows servers these days, have access to the command line via running SSH. And so you can, if you know the IP address, just log into the system wherever it is in the world. Now, this is not the only thing, but I can run stuff on this system, okay? And I can see what kind of stuff is over there. I can run commands just like I was on my local system. Now, when I want to end this, I just do a Control-D or a logout, and I'm back on my current system. Now, if I do SSH to that system, and I do ls, and I just put a command out there, it just runs that command on the remote system. Now, I can take the output of that and I can find out all of the different things that are on that system. Now, what's happening here is SSH is logging into this system. It is running this command that I specified. The output from SSH is now being piped. It's coming back across between computers. That pipe is now taking the output, and this command over here is being run locally. So not only can you run commands, you can distribute them across systems with SSH. Now, I just looked for whatever a tar command is, and we're going to have a little example of how we do stuff with tar here in a minute, and find and combine them together. But this gives you access to remotely get stuff and pull it back from another system. A couple days ago, we talked about, I had pulled a log file off of a system. The way that I did it is I SSH'd into that system, grabbed the log file, and actually just catted it on that system. And then I piped it on my system into a file that we could sit there and manipulate and use. So you can move data between systems easily with SSH and remotely access things. So that's kind of the low level of SSH. Now, if you just want to copy a file, SSH has file copy. You can say SCP. I can say SCP from, and I happen to know that the directory path I'm interested in is this. That's where you are logged in. If you logged in and did a pwd, that's where it would be. So I can say sim001.tar.gz, and I want to copy it to the current system. So SCP allows me to copy files from or to other systems and send them back and forth trivially. This gives you kind of the flavor of remote access. Now, you notice I just said a dot there, which is my current directory. So this file is on the remote system. This dot is on the local system. I can copy things in the other direction. I could say, copy that file and send it to that directory on the remote system. And that isn't the most useful thing to do at this moment in time because it was already on the remote system, but that gives you a demo of copying from and to a remote system with SCP. The good thing about SSH and SCP is it uses strong authentication all the time and encryption in between. So these commands allow you good, strong access to another system. And you notice I didn't use a password anywhere in it. If you have not done any setup, usually it will prompt you for a password to log in. But you can set up a thing called passwordless authentication. And it requires that you generate public-private keys on your local system and provide the remote system with your public key. and then it uses a strong signature mechanism to allow you to log in. And this is incredibly convenient if you are managing remote servers. And in this particular case, I'm logging into a virtual machine that is actually running on top of another remote server. So, given the address and given the account information, I can log in. If I create a service, say, on Amazon Web Services and start up a remote system, the only way that Amazon will let me log into that is having a public-private key pair that it generates, and I use that key pair and SSH to log in. So it gives me a strong authentication means of administrating and accessing that system. Now, I promised you that I would show you how to combine find and tar. Find is an incredibly powerful command. For instance, if I want to do find in my current directory and I want to find all the things that are named MP4, and what I want to do is I just want to list them. I can just say list them and I'll find that there are a couple lectures. If I want to say that I want to execute a command on them, and here I have to substitute in what I want to list and I have to tell it where the execute command ends. We can do it that way, or we could provide options and we could say, by golly, I want to go find all the file names that end in MP4 and I want to execute this other command on them. Find in combination with grep so that I can search patterns suddenly becomes really useful. But it also means that when I want to do something that requires the file names or requires access to files in some sort of a fashion, for instance, I can say I want to take the tape archiver and I want to create a file, just a temporary file out of it. But I want to, because I'm going to ship this to some other system. But I need the list of file names. At this point, I can say take the output of find and put that list of file names onto the tar command, and I can take and combine tar with find to find a list of files. I could have taken the set of file names from find and piped it through a bunch of stuff and processed it with like grep if I had specific things that I wanted, or other combinations thereof. But by combining these things together, suddenly we can build bigger things. Now, when I'm doing videos for this class, I end up with a list of videos. Those are the two MP4 files. And I have this script that puts them up on Amazon S3. But you'll notice this script is kind of like really simple. It just has $1, which means it doesn't do a list of names. And a lot of times you have commands like this that they just take a specific set of parameters and they don't do a list. But I have more than one file. So if I want to combine these things together, the shell also provides the ability of running loops. So I can do for I in and this will actually do a loop where I'm going to take this and I'm going to take the output of find and I'm going to do it in a loop so I get one of these things each time. And I'm just going to do echo here. So you can see the effect. But I can run a command over and over a loop of stuff coming from find. And you'll notice in this case, all I've done is I've just substituted in the name inside the echo command. But here's a way to take the list of something like find, put it back on the command line, iterate over it, and then run another command over it, like echo or my up and pub that takes files and pushes them up so that you guys get access to them, and run it over the output of another program. So in the handout for today, I have listed the different kinds of things, hopefully, that I have covered in this class that is job control, but these are the things that I regularly use at the command line to make life easy. There is one more that I regularly use, which is command line editing, and I have it set so that I can go back and edit previous commands. I have it set to VI commands, but I can basically go back and use VI. to edit commands that I have already run so that I can reuse stuff. Now, the way I get to that is it has a history of all the commands I've recently run. If I do escape K, so I get into command mode instead of edit mode, it allows me to go back and walk through them. I can go and hit escape, and I can actually go and edit stuff on the command line. So now I've changed this for loop so it substitutes in the file name and it says this is it. So when I want to rerun stuff, I have access to search it and rerun it very quickly from far, far, far in the past. So I don't necessarily have to remember that my SSH, I did escape and I did a pattern to search backwards. I can find that my SSH command is right there, or SCP, and that's how I get back to commands that I have already run previously and reuse them.